Today's daf is daf Chav Vav. We are going to begin the Chav Hey Amid Beis. The line starts with, the Gemara starts with Usehei. The line starts with B'meis. Okay, so now the Gemara says like this. Our Mishnah, we had a Kal V'chemer from Shein V'regel to Keren, and we said that Keren should be Chayav and Ezek Shalem. That when it comes B'Rishus HaNizik, the Gemara said wants to learn from a Kal V'chemer. So now the Gemara says like this: "Who say Shein v'regel chayev B'Rishus HaRabim Kal V'chemer." Shein and regel, if an animal damages either with its tooth or with its regel in Rishus HaRabim. So yesterday we learned that it's pater. The Gemara says, I can tell you a Kal V'chemer that l'chayr Shein v'regel B'Rishus HaRabim should be chayev. Why? Because Uma Keren B'Rishus HaNizik in Mishalem and Lechatzi Nezek. If Keren, if a Keren goes B'Rishus HaNizik, we learned yesterday that it's chayiv and nezek shalem when it goes B'Rishus HaNizik. So B'Rishus HaRabim, and nevertheless B'Rishus HaRabim chayeves. So when Keren goes B'Rishus HaNizik, it only pays a chatzi nezek, and nevertheless it's chayiv and B'Rishus HaRabim also chatzi nezek. So Shein v'regel, so the l'chayr Shein v'regel B'Rishus HaNizik mishalem nezek shalom. We know the din is that Shein v'regel when it goes B'Rishus HaNizik it's chayiv and nezek shalom. Ain't a din B'Rishus HaRabim chayiv. So for sure when it's in Rishus HaRabim for sure should be chayiv. So why is Shein v'regel and Rishus HaRabim pater? Right? It's mamish the exact opposite we learned yesterday. So he says that l'chayr Shein v'regel B'Rishus HaRabim should be chayiv. Why? Because if Keren B'Rishus HaNizik only pays a chatzi nezek and nevertheless is chayiv and Rishus HaRabim, so Shein v'regel, which is B'Rishus HaNizik, is chayiv and nezek shalem. For sure, B'Rishus HaRabim should be chayiv and nezek shalem. So the Gemara says, Amar Kra, I have a pasuk. The pasuk says, by Shein v'regel ubir b'stei acher. The Torah says that that in order for it to be chayiv, it has to. We have this pasuk many times. It has to consume in the field, meaning v'lei B'Rishus HaRabim. So it has to the Shein v'regel. The Torah says it has to consume in the field of another, meaning that the chiyuv of the damage is limited to the rishus, but to Shein v'regel is b'rishus HaNizik, and for sure in Rishus HaRabim it's not chayiv. Okay, so now we're holding Chav Vav Amud Aleph, the first line. So now the Gemara explains the question. The Gemara says like this. Midi kuli kamrinan. Are we saying that the nezek should be in full? In other words, we're not saying for the Kal V'chemer that you should make Shein v'regel chayiv and Rishus HaRabim nezek shalom. Pagli kamrinan. We're saying that the nezek should be a half. In other words, what do we suggest? We're suggesting that Kal V'chemer to make Shein v'regel chayiv and Rishus HaRabim how much? A chatzi nezek. Why? Because the Kal V'chemer is coming from a keren, which is a tam in the Rishus HaRabim, which is chayiv chatzi nezek. So, in other words, like Rashi explains, okay, so the chiyuv of the mashmayis of the pasuk ubir b'stei acher is just telling us that the pasuk he doesn't have to pay a nezek shalom, but you can't say from here that the Shein v'regel b'Rishus HaRabim. In other words, the Shein v'regel doesn't have to pay nezek shalom, but you don't have you can't establish over here that you're in gans and pater in Rishus HaRabim, and therefore chatzi nezek won't be chayiv. So the Gemara says the reason why Shein v'regel Rishus HaRabim you're not going to be mechayiv them even a chatzi nezek. Zog the Gemara Amar Kra. The pasuk says in regards to the chiyuv of chatzi nezek, a share which damages, a share which is a keren that damages. What's the halacha? V'chatzu es kaspei. The Torah says and divide its money. Now, in other words, kaspei shalzeh dafke the money of a share tam which damages, then the owner has to pay chatzah. He has to pay a half. V'loi kaspei shel acher, and not when the money of the damage is something else. In other words, you are not going to mechayiv a nezek of a share which damages somebody else in another way. For example, what does it say? V'chatzu es kaspei. A dafka in the case of keren, you split his kaspei. V'loi kaspei sh'ba'acher. Not another situation. What would that be? That would be a situation of Shein and regel. Now the Gemara is going to try so many different times, ahin and tzirik, And every time the Gemara is going to shlug up. Okay, so now the Gemara says like this. The Gemara is going to suggest that let's learn a kal v'chemer from one of the halachas, another din of shein v'regel. Frag zog the Gemara v'lei sehei shein v'regel chayev is b'reshus hanizik ela chatzi nezek b'kal v'chemer. A shein v'regel should be chayev b'reshus hanizik only a chatzi nezek from a kal v'chemer. Now, what's the din? What is the din by shein v'regel b'reshus hanizik? Nezek shalom. So the Gemara says that it should be mechuyev only a chatzi nezek b'reshus hanizik. Why? Because it says like this. Uma, from Keren? What's the kal v'chemer? Uma Keren, if by Keren, when we say Keren, we mean a sherd, which is a tam, which is only the first 3 times. So a sherd, which has the status of a Keren, and the halach is b'reshus harabim chayeves. Whenever you have Keren b'reshus harabim, you're chayev. That's the din. Keren is different than shein v'regel. Shein v'regel is pater b'reshus harabim. Keren is chayev v'chatzi nezek b'reshus harabim. So that's what he's saying. Uma Keren b'reshus harabim chayeves. Nevertheless, b'reshus hanizik in mishalem is chatzi nezek. However, b'reshus hanizik the din is that Keren is only chayev v'chatzi nezek. So then shein v'regel, which we know b'reshus harabim is ptura. So l'cheda, if it's more mekel, the shein v'regel is more mekel than Keren. Why? Because it's pater b'reshus harabim, so einei din does not make sense. B'reshus hanizik mishalim chatzi nezek. It should make sense that shein v'regel should be chayiv a chatzi nezek because it's more mekel than Keren, which is mechuyev in b'reshus harabim. So Amar Kra, he says, the pasuk says yishalim. The pasuk says in regards to the chiyuv of shein v'regel, the Torah says yishalim, which means that he has to pay. The pasuk says yishalim ubir b'ste'acher meitiv sadeu meitiv karmei yishalim, which means that the best of his field and the best of his vineyards he shall pay, which is mashma tashlumin ma'alya, that he has to pay the highest amount. He has to pay the complete amount and not half of the damage. So again, al piseichel, you're right. Why? B'reshus hanizik. Why? Yishalim. So there's a custom. Pisechel, does it make sense? No. Why? Because kal v'chemer. But I have a pasuk Yishalim. Ubir b'ste'acher meitiv sadeu meitiv karma Yishalim. Yeah. So now the Gemara goes again and says a third. The Gemara wants to bring a third kal v'chemer about Keren. The Gemara says, the Gemara says, this is much easier than yesterday. So don't worry about it. What? Where? Ken. But what if? Fine. But again, shein v'regel b'reshus hanizik is chayiv nezek shalom. Keren b'reshus hanizik is chayiv chatzi nezek. Now, b'reshus harabim, Keren is chayiv v'chatzi nezek. Shein v'regel is pater. Right. Why? So far, I have psukim. Okay. So now the Gemara says v'lo yisei Keren b'reshus harabim chayiv. Now the Gemara says, you know what? Keren, and when we say Keren, it means that Keren, which is a tam, should not be chayiv at all in reshus harabim, which we know it's not. It's chayiv chatzi nezek. Why? Kal v'chemer. I have a kal v'chemer. Uma shein v'regel. If by shein v'regel, b'reshus hanizik, we know by shein v'regel. B'reshus hanizik is nachama. Uma shein v'regel by shein v'regel. B'reshus hanizik is chayiv nezek shalom. And nevertheless, b'reshus harabim is ptura. So the shein v'regel b'reshus hanizik is chayiv nezek shalom. When it's b'reshus harabim, it's pater and ganzen. So l'chayda Keren, which is more mekel than shein v'regel. Why? Because b'reshus hanizik, we said shein v'regel b'reshus hanizik is chayiv v'chatzi nezek. So einei din, does it not make sense to say b'reshus harabim ptura? So shein v'regel, which we know is more. Shein v'regel b'reshus hanizik is chayiv nezek shalom, and b'reshus harabim, which is pater. So Keren, which we know the din is that b'reshus hanizik is chatzi nezek. So l'cheda for sure b'reshus harabim it should be pater because it's more mekel, and we know that's not the din. The din is that it's chayiv v'chatzi nezek. So Amar Rabbi Yochanan says Amar Kra v'iter v'chatzi nezek of a Keren. It says yechet zoyin, which means that they shall divide. Which means the pasuk says like this: V'chiyigav sher ishas re'eyu v'meis. When a sher pushes a man or another sher and it dies, umachos a sher hachai, and you sell the shade. V'chotzos kaspay v'gamas hameis yechet zoyin, which means that. From here we learn out that there's the Torah should have said umachros hasher achai v'chatzos kaspe v'gamas hameis. Why does it say that yechet soyin? The din of Chatzi Nezek of Keren, there's no difference whether it's in Rishus HaYochid or Rishus HaRabim, it's always going to be Chayiv. That's, again, so right there, we keep going and bringing these Kal V'chemers, which logic makes a lot of sense, but at the end of the day, you have psukim that work against you. So now the Gemara brings another Kal V'chemer, which is miyusad on the din of Keren. Zog the Elige Gemara. The Adam Chayiv B'Kefer. Now, a person should be, let a person, this is we're talking about when who kills a person? When another person kills another person, right? So the halacha is, the Torah says like this. If a Sher Amud kills, let's say a person, so the owners have to pay a kaifer, a ransom. The Torah says, if that's what the Torah says. So, now, a person who killed another person. Yeah. So l'cheda, al pi din, al pi halacha, or al pi svara, the Gemara suggests let a person who killed another person have to pay kaifer. Why have a kal v'chemer from a kal v'chemer? And he says like this: U'mashed if a shed she'ene chayiv ba'arbad dvarim. If a shed, the owner of a shed, let's say damages a person, he's not the owner of the shed does not have to pay tsar sheves dibe beishis. He only has to pay the nezek. He has to pay for what the animal damaged the person. Now, nevertheless, chayiv b'kefer. If the halacha is that if it's a sher muad and this sher muad now went ahead and killed the person, the owner of the sher has to pay a kefer. Nevertheless, if this sher would damage the person, he doesn't have to pay the five nezek tzar. Only nezek tzar sheves dibe beishis. He does not have to pay. So, nevertheless, he has to pay kefer. So Adam, a person, which when another person damages another person, Shu chayiv ba'arbad dvarim, he's chayiv for the 5 things. Ein din, does it not make sense? She chayiv b'keifer, that'll be chayiv for keifer. So the svara is, why isn't it that when a person kills another person, doesn't he have to pay keifer? Now, you can obviously ask the question. The pasuk says by Meziv, Torah says that not the Torah clearly says don't take kaifer. Right. Right. Okay, there's all Riches and Rashi and Teisvis. We can add an asaf side back in them. Hakoponim. Okay. Adam chai b'kefer kal v'chemer. Ma asher she'ene chai b'arba dvarim chai b'kefer. Adam shechai b'arba dvarim any din she chai b'kefer. Amar Kra, so the pasuk says like this: Kechayil asher yushas alav. The Torah says in regards to the chiyuv of kefer, asher which kills a person. Kechayil asher yushas alav, which means that whatever is opposed upon him. The full pasuk says in kefer yushas alav and nasan pidyon nafshi kechayil yushas alav. Alav, that's dafke the bal hasher which kills a person, then Yushas Kaifer, then the Baal Asher has to pay Kaifer. V'loi ala adam, but not when a person kills another person. So back to the same thing, Xeris HaKosov. But now let the owner of the ox that injured a person be chayiv for these 4 types of damages. Why? Because adam by a person, which a person is not chayiv and kaifer. Another person who kills another person is not chayiv for kaifer. Why? Because we just learned all of. Nevertheless, chayiv be'arba dvarim is chayiv in the 4 things. So sheir by a sheir, chayiv be'kaifer, a sheir which is chayiv be'kaifer. Like we just explained, any din shechayiv be'arba dvarim. So why is it that when a sheir damages another person, is the owner not chayiv to pay the other 4 damages? So again, the Torah says in regards to when a person damages, the Torah says v'ish kiyitin mum ba'misei, and if a man maims another, from which we learn out over here, v'loi sher ba'misei. From here we learn out that the halacha applies only when a man harms another person, that they have to pay, but not when an ox harms another person. Works? Okay, Zog the Gemara, they asked a shaila before the Chachamim. A regel, he says like this: a regel, a behema which damaged while it was walking, It had no kavanah to damage, to kill anybody. So regel shadar slagabi tinin b'chashan nizek nebach. An animal was trampling. In the case of an animal that tramples a child in the courtyard of b'chatzar nizik, an injured party, and kills a child. But while it was walking, it didn't have any kavanah to damage. It just literally, while it was trampling nebach, it stepped on a kid and killed a kid. So now the shaila is ma'oshet teshalem kaifer. So in the case of a regel shadar shlagabi tinik b'chotz nizik, ma'oshet teshalem kaifer is the bal asher. Does he have to pay kaifer or not? Just like a shur mu'ed that kills a person. We said a shur mu'ed that kills another person with keren. What's the halacha? A shur mu'ed that kills another person, let's say, has to pay nezek shalim. So the shaila is a regel shador slagabi tinin b'chatzar nizik. Right. Now, what's that? A behema, a regel, we said b'reshus nizik is chayiv how much? Nezek shalim. Keren is chatzi. Here the word is like this: he killed in a way of regel. B'chatzar nizik. So the shaila is: does he have to pay? Does the bal asher have to pay kaifer? Just like a shur mu'ed, which kills another person. When a shur mu'ed kills another, we explained, when a shur mu'ed kills a person, le'aleinu, he has to pay nezek shalim by keren. So the shaila is, where? Right, but when a shur kills a person, the owner of the shur has to pay kaifer. That's what we just learned. So the shaila is like this. Here, the animal killed in a way of regel. So regel usually b'reshus hanizik is chayiv and nezek shalim. So like this. Mi amrina midi de havia keren. Do we say it has the same din of keren? That keren by keren, kiven the over trei utlos zimni, when the shirt, let's say, tramples by keren 2 or 3 times, it becomes a mu'ed. So urchiyu. So it becomes now the normal way. Umishalim kaifer. And now a share which damages a person has to pay kaifer. So hachanami here too in the case of the nezek of the regel, loishna, there won't make any difference. Why? Because it's the derech of the shirt to go and trample. So by shein, it's a mu'ad l'chilosei. So therefore, if it kills a person, he'll be chayiv to pay kaifer, just like, because what's the svara of keren? The keren, once it becomes a mu'ad, he has to pay kaifer because it becomes ki urcha. So l'chayira by regel as well, while it's traveling, it's ki urcha. So ki urcha, you have to pay kaifer. Or do we say no? Keren kavanas lahazik. By keren, the word is kavanah to damage, and regel ain't kavanas lahazik, and by regel is not the kavanah to damage. So the Gemara now brings a toshma. Come, I'll bring a raya from this. Brisa. Hichne sher the chatzer balabayis shalei b'reshus. The halacha is like this. What happened is if a person brought his ox into the courtyard of a homeowner, but he had no permission to bring this ox into the courtyard of the homeowner. And what happened? This ox gored the homeowner and v'meis, and he died. Hasher b'skila. So the halacha is the shar gets skila, like any behema that killed a person. Uba olav, and the owners, bein tam, whether the shar was a tam. Bein mu'ed, whether it was a mu'ed, mishalim kaifer shalim, he has to pay a kaifer shalim due to Rabbi Tarfon. These are the words of Rabbi Tarfon. Now, even though the pasuk is speaking about kaifer, even though the word of kaifer is talking about the negich of a shara mu'ed, the Tanaya is only in Rishus Rabim. But when it's Rishus Nizik, it doesn't matter whether it's a shur tam, it's chayiv in kaifer shalim. So that's what and he doesn't explain exactly how he gets there. So now he explains this. Okay, so now, what do we see from here? I see that he wants to know what was the question? If Nebuch, a kid, went ahead and got trampled by this animal in a way of regel, does he have to pay kaifer or not? Do I compare it to keren, which is a mu'id, or do I say, which is ki urcha, or do I say is by keren's kavanas lazik, here is not kavanas lazik? So he says, I'm going to bring you a raya from Hichnes Sher the Chatzer Balabai Shlei B'Reshus. When the Gochel Balabai is for mace, so the Sher gets skila, and the owners, it doesn't matter, he has to pay a nezek shal. He has to pay kaifer. So the Gemara says this. The Gemara now explains the Ichacha, the Gemara explains the proof from the Brisa. Kaifer shalim betam the Rabbi Tarfon minoli. Where does Rabbi Tarfon know that a Sher tam that killed another person in a shir tam that killed another person, Rishus Nizik, where does he know that the owner has to pay a kaifer shalom? So la mishum the sarva like Rabbi Yisrael Lili must be because Rabbi Tarfon knows Rabbi Yisrael Lili. The Omar, he says, tam, that a shir tam is shalom chatzi kaifer b'Rishus Rabim. A shir, which is a tam, pays half kaifer b'Rishus Rabim. Just like a shir tam, which is mazik, he has to pay a chatzi nezik. Umaisi law, and Rabbi Tarfon learns that out from the halacha of mikal v'chemer menegel, which means he learns from the Mishnah of Kal V'chemer in regards to the chiyuv nezek shalom b'shir tam that damaged a b'rishus nizik. In other words, so Alma, basically, what do we see from here? The ika kaifer b'regel. I find that by regel has kaifer. So if so, because if not, where does Reb Tarfon know that kaifer shalom b'keren tam b'rishus nizik? So Rabbi Shimi ben Ardari says like this: that there's no chiyuv kaifer b'regel. I asked where he knows it from. Tana medinizik in the regel ma'isla. Tana Reb Tarfon learns it out from the Kal V'chemer of niskei regel. In other words, if the gabe niskei regel we find that even though it's pater the gami b'rishus harabim, nevertheless b'rishus nizik is chayv nezik shalom, and the gabe kaifer b'keren your pater because it's b'rishus harabim, which is chatzi kaifer. Does it not make sense? Because Kavachem b'rishus nizik should be chayv a kaifer shalom. The Gemara says v'lifrich I can be peirich the malin nizokin b'regel by the case of nizokin the regel. There you have a tzad shavish ken yeshna be'esh. There's a chiyuv by you have a extra chumrah by eish which is damages. Mashenka my kaifer you don't have this. Okay, so the Gemara says I could. Reb Tarfon says so. What is? No, 1 second. So now the Gemara says why the Gemara is not peirich the Kavachem because he says mitamun from the chiyuv of niskei regel by tamun, which is chayiv for damages which is not by fire. In other words, if the gabe tashlumin nizokin beregel, we find that even though he's putter in ganzen b'rishus harabim, nevertheless b'rishus nizik is chayv nezek shalom, even on davar tamud. And so the gabe kaifer b'keren, which is a tam, which is chayv b'rishus harabim, chatzi kaifer according to Rabbi Yisrael Lili, does not make sense by Kal V'chemer b'rishus nizik should be chayv a kaifer shalom. So. And this Kal V'chemer, you can't say anything about Eish. So the Gemara says, Ma'ala Tamon, by Tamon, shken yeshtem beber, yeah, by ber. So the Gemara says, then Mikalim, I could show you a raya by Kalim. So the Gemara says, Ma'ala Kalim, shken yeshtem be'Eish. Just go a little quicker now. Mikalim Tumunin, says Mikalim Tumunin, says Ma'ala Kalim Tumunin, shken yeshtem be'adam, Mikalim Tumunin is by a person. The Gemara says, Allah shma mina, be kaifer the regel ma'isla, I bring it from kaifer, alma, what I see, ika kaifer be regel. That there is kaifer by regel, the Gemara says, shma mina. Okay, Amr le Reb Acham, edifta levino. Hachanam Mistam makes sense. The ika kaifer b'regel, there's kaifer b'regel. The ika sokadaytech if not leka kaifer b'regel, because if you hold that there's no kaifer b'regel, v'tanam medinazok the regel ma'isla, and the tanam of Tarfon is learning out kaifer, you pay a full kaifer from Karen, which is a tam b'rishus nizik. So like Reb Shimi said, so lifreich, then you could be prepared to come with him and man lenazok in the regel by regel shkin yeshtem b'regel, which has b'regel. Allah shmamina must be the kaifer the regel ma'isla. That we learn it out from Kefir the Regel, Alma, what do you see? Ika Kefir Regel, there is Kefir Regel, Shmamina. Okay. So the new Mishnah. Now the Mishnah is going to conclude what we learned. We spoke about the Chamishim Mu'adim. We mentioned Daf Tezvav. So the Gemara is going to be Marchiv now, Adam Amazik, we said, by a person who damages himself. Adam Mu'ad La'ilam, a person is constantly a Mu'ad, and a Mu'ad has to pay, a person who damages has to pay a Nezek Shalom. Bein Mishegi, Bein Mimeza, whether it was on purpose or by accident. Bein Air, Bein Yashin, whether he's sleeping or he's up. For example, Simin as Ein Chaverei, if a person blinded another person, Vishiber as a Kalim, and he broke somebody else's Kalim, Shalom Nezek Shalom, he has to pay a Nezek Shalom. Okay, so now the Gemara says at the end of the Mishnah like this. Ketani, what do the end of the Mishnah say? Somebody who blinds his friend and somebody who breaks a Kalim, what does it say? That simes in chavere dumya the shibers kalim. That somebody who blinds his friend's eyes is similar to kalim. In other words, ma'asim, just like in regards to breaking a kalim nezik in, somebody who damages, the damager has to pay the nezik, the worth of the keli. But arbar dvarim, but in regards to tzari beisheves beishas loy, he doesn't have to pay. Like somebody who damages his friend, simes in chavere. So to the case that when he makes his friend blind. The nezek in, he only has to pay a nezek, but he doesn't have to pay the 4 things. So the Gemara says, Mino hani mili. From where, with regard to the halacha that a person has to pay the full cost of the damage in the case when there was no kavanah to damage, from where do we know this? Amar Chizkiya v'chein Tana debei Chizkiya Amar Kara. The pasuk says petza tachas patza. Torah says that wound for a wound. Now the chayda petza tachas patza the chayiv al shegeg kemeza that a person's chayiv by a muad shegeg kemeza b'ala oinis kudotzen and oinis also kudotzen. Pray the Gemara hami boyle litin sar b'makom nez. So the chayda we need to have this pasuk of petza tachas patza that a person has to compensate for pain even in the case when he pays the compensation of the damage. So the chayda we don't have an extra pasuk. So the Gemara says imkein lichdev rachmana petza bepatza my tachas patza. Why does it say tachas patza? Shmamina tarted to learn both of these things. Amar Rabba says, Heichen even menachas lebichek v'leikir above a person. There was a stone lying in a person's lap and he was unaware of it. Amar v'naflan he rose and he fell and it caused damage. Linyan is talking with regards to damage. So chayiv is chayiv to pay the full cost of the damage caused by the stone. Linyan arba dvarim with regards to the four things. Pater is pater. Linyan Shabbos with regards to Shabbos. If the falling stone caused him to violate the Isser, let's say, for example, the stone fell from Rosh Hashanah to Rosh Hashanah, so he's... Again, the Evan is Becheke, he didn't know. He got up and it fell. So Nizakin is Chayiv. Arba Dvarim is Pater. Then in Shabbos, he's Pater. Why? Because Melechus Machshava is also the Torah. Right, the Torah says that it has to be, a famous thing, has to be planned, has to be constructive, Malacha on Shabbos, and he didn't plan to perform this Malacha. Then in Galus, in regard to, let's say, Galus, as a person goes to Shegeg, has to go to Arei Miklat, right, he's also Pater. Now, the Eved, the Indian Eved, with regards to Eved Knani, whose tooth was destroyed or eye was blinded by the stone, potentially enabling the stone to, this slave to go free. So Pluk said Shimon Gamliel, but abundance of machlekes between Shimon and Gamliel. At the time we learned, if his master was a doctor and the slave said to him, "Kechel paint the lid of my eye in order to heal it." Visime and the master blinded it during the procedure. Chater li shini, if he says scrape my tooth in order to heal it, ve'pilei and he knocked it out. Sichik, he knocked it out, the tooth, while scraping it. Sichik ba'adin, the slave mocked the master. V'yatz the cheres, and he went out for free. Shimon Gamliel Eimer v'shiksa. By conscience, Shimon Gamliel says the slave is not free in these cases because the Torah says v'shiksa and destroy it. Actually, skav the shachsa, he has to go ahead and mamish intend to destroy it, but not if he intended to heal the slave. So too in the case where the stone fell accidentally and blinded the slave's eye and knocked out his tooth. According to the Chachamim, the slave would be free. According to Shimon Gamliel, he would not. Now. If he was initially aware of it but forgot about it, and he arose and fell, with regard to the damages, he is chayiv. Being that he's chayiv if he's unaware of the stone. With regard to the Arba Dvarim, Pater is Pater. In Galus is chayiv. The Omer Kra, the Pasuk says Bishkaga. There says Bishkaga Mechlal to have a yediyah, which means that he had to have a yediyah. Have a yediyah, and he had a yediyah. In Shabbos he's Pater. In Eved we have a machlekes Pluk of Shimon V'Reb Gamliel. Next thing, if he intended to throw the stone. And he intended to throw the distance of 2 amas on Shabbos. V'zarak arba, and he threw it, let's say, 4. Now, in is zaken, if he damaged, he's chayiv. In arba dvarim is pater. In Shabbos, why is pater? Because the melechas machshav is being done. In galus, the pasuk says shalei tzada am rachmana prat l'skavrin.
Somebody got killed over here.
If he got killed by mistake, so the Torah says asher tzada, he did not. If a man lie not in weight, it excludes the skav and the zikshtayim zorak arba. Now, the Indian Eved, in regards to an Eved, pluksa, the Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel v'Rabbanan. This skav and the zik arba, if he intended to throw the stone 4 amas, zorak shman, and he threw 8. The Indian is zokin with regards to the damages. Chayev, he is chayev. The Indian arba dvarim with regards to the arba dvarim pater. The Indian Shabbos, the Indian regards Shabbos, va'emer kol malkim shetirtzes tenuach. In regards to Shabbos, if he said to himself when he threw the stone that he would be satisfied wherever it may land, then yes, he is chayiv, because he intended to throw it at any distance of 4 amas. Then in Galos, Ashulay Tzada, Prat l'skav l'zik arba, v'zarak shmeina, he'll be potter if he had in mind to throw 4 and he threw 8. Lenient Eved, Pluksa, the Rebbe Gamliel, v'Rebbanan. Now, V'amar Rabbi says, Rei kli merei shagag, if a person threw a vessel, such as an earthenware jug, from a roof, another person came, wow, we had this already once, squirrel came and broke it. So he's potter. Why is he potter in my time? Because minot fida tavar, because he broke a broken vessel. It was bound to break. Rabbi says the last thing. If there was a roof, if he threw a keli from a roof, what? He threw a keli from a roof and there was cushions and blankets below there. If a net, so it was not going to break. Now what happened? A ba'achar was silken. Another person came and removed the cushions and blankets. A caught the move is silken, so it's putter. So that person is putter. Why? Why is he putter? My time up. Because at the time that he threw the keli, his arrows were stopped. In other words, what he did at the time, he threw the keli, which is an act comparable to shooting an arrow, did not have the capacity to break the keli. Therefore, he's not viewed as having broken the keli and is patur. Okay, we'll stop here. So let me sure he's eating. So just close that. Yos.